we're back. The Matt Chat Podcast. Yours truly, Paulie P, Uncle P, Big Sexy, Buff Daddy, Cuzzo Frank, Frank Grizzly, the Handsome Man, the Camouflage Man, Baby Shay, the Red Man, Red Dawn, Heat Miser, Peter Olberg, Producer Extraordinaire. We're back. And guys, before we continue, please continue to like, share, comment on all of our social media, especially the YouTube page. We love your feedback. We love everything that's coming our way.
And subscribe, baby!
And subscribe. Thank you.
He said that.
Red Man. I said it. But again, he's got to get
We'll go back on the tape. It wasn't said.
Red
Man's going to do what a Red Man's
going to do what a Red Man's going to do. And speaking of Red Man, a.k.a. the Red Man, go. You have some shit to talk, you said, so do it.
A.k.a. Mr. I don't look at the camera. A.k.a. Mr. Bag of Dicks. A.k.a.
We're not even going to go there today. Because my topic is important.
Let's hear it.
All right. So you have Yellow Star, no, I'm just kidding.
Let's go, BOD.
All right, fine, here's my topic. I don't know how many, BOD? Oh, God, I know. I thought he was going to just call me,
I was waiting for him to go, oh, bod, I like that. Oh, bod.
No, I know what he means. I thought he was going to call me BS.
The BOD. Okay?
So,
we'll have to do a whole episode on that.
I don't think we need. For any of you that don't know what BOD stands for, that's good. Having said that, yesterday we had a execution in Tennessee. Death penalty. There's my topic. Something we haven't spoken about in a long time. Something, I got to be honest, that I'm vehemently for.
But why is it
I am pro.
Is it like the first time we've done this in a while? Doesn't it happen all the time?
No, believe it or not, since 1976, there's only been about 1,500
Depends on the
executions.
state, too, right?
Connecticut's a state doesn't even have the death penalty on the books.
Well, snowflake liberal, that's why.
So it's pathetic. I got to be honest. But you would think snowflake liberal, New York and California have the death penalty, though.
Well, it's because they were normal ones.
But they don't ever use it. Actually, I think California actually uses it. New York doesn't ever use it. I think it's only on the books for if you kill a cop.
Well, there's a lot of oxymorons, because think about Connecticut in the standpoint of, like, gun laws. It's an open carry state.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want anyone having guns.
Right, that's
And
crazy.
you can't open carry. If you open carry, you'll get your balls busted.
Well, they can bust your balls, but
legally they can't
to
do
show
much.
an ID.
Yeah.
Right.
I've open carried in Connecticut.
Right.
I'm like, whatever.
And here's the cool part about this execution. He was electrocuted. He wasn't legally
fried him.
injected.
It's a rough way to go.
And that's, to me, I was like, damn, this is different
So
than
what
most.
was his crime?
Well, actually, he had two crimes. And this kind of leads into the are you for it or are you against it?
Sure.
He initially committed 3 murders, cold-blooded murders, like killed his grandmother on one. Just like bad stuff.
Right.
Just bad. So apparently he was in jail. He was interested in getting marijuana or some type of drug. They said marijuana. The guy was a marijuana. And he gave him some bad stuff. They got into a fight. The other guy said, I'm going to kill you. He said, oh, really? Apparently, he stabbed the guy in his cell like 36 times in his chest and neck.
Oh, wow.
over marijuana. So they said, all right, listen, he had 3 life sentences. So what are they going to do? Give him a 4th? So they said, no, we're going to execute him. And so he's put on death row. But here's the question. That happened over 30 years ago. That's what's fucking crazy.
What, the second crime you're talking about?
Yeah, both crimes happened over 30 years
So it took
ago.
him 30 years to put him to death.
30 years to put him to fucking death. That's the problem with our system. It's inherently flawed. You can't have a death penalty that... I'm looking at it right there. You can't have a death penalty and then drag that shit out for 30 years.
Yeah, but why is it dragged out for 30 years?
Because they appeal and they appeal and they appeal and they appeal and they appeal to try and get this guy off to grant clemency.
Don't teasers by cursing, please. When you're in a passionate mood, just give it to the camera cleanly.
So 30 freaking years later, now in 30 years, this guy ended up doing some good things, which is what scares me. So the whole quandary is, do you kill him or do you not kill him?
Wait. You said he did some good things in 30 years?
Believe it or not, in that 30 years, there was a riot at one of the prisons in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the guards was going to get killed.
Yeah.
He stood in front and defended the guard to all the and fought a bunch of the inmates to protect them.
Okay.
That's crazy shit. And he did something else. I forget exactly what it was, but he ended up going to school. He ended up like reforming himself, and they're like, "Hey, look, you shouldn't do this for this guy." And the governor of Tennessee was like, "Go to hell. He's dead." And sure enough, yesterday they killed him.
Well, all I'll say is this: is that I think it's very rare that these criminals become reformed.
Absolutely.
It's very rare.
So, because that beckons a question. You have some of these. There's countries out there that are putting money into reforming rather than
Killing.
or punishing. And
Sure.
you have some of these countries that, like, they say they're having a lot of success with putting people back into the workforce, etc. I mean, like, I think for minor drug offenses, that's something that's going to work. But when you have like people who are out there killing,
hardened criminals,
and
like that,
raping, and etc. I mean,
No, I think in the standpoint of what he just described, it's unfortunate for one thing. If he did these horrible things and it took 30 years for them to
finally,
give
follow
him the death
through.
penalty,
Yeah, finally follow through.
in those 30 years, he actually reformed himself, then you might want to like revisit that.
Right.
So, all right, so you may not let him out. He's going to live the rest of his life in prison, right? So you don't kill him. But to Frank's point, yeah, you can't reform animals.
Correct.
Like you can't reform a sociopath. You can't reform a child molester. You can't reform a rapist. Okay, they should be put to death.
And it should be quickly. It shouldn't be this long, drawn-out
No, I
process
agree.
that ends up costing us more money than if we kept life in prison.
An old man once told me, "Give everybody a second chance, but never a third." Well, that being said, something like this, it's rough. It's rough because you have 30 years of detriment, right? You have 30 years of killing or murdering or whatever else. And then all of a sudden, in 10 years, all you've done these things to make yourself a better person. Mm-hmm. You can't make up for 30 years worth of terrible things in one day.
Correct.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but this guy was 18. They put him to death in his mid-50s.
so, but this is my point. So, like, so here he is at
That's
18.
crazy.
Here he is at 18.
Yeah.
Our frontal lobe isn't developed until what, 25? If these people are making mistakes, like it's such a issue for me to really sit there and say one way or the other, because it's like there's so many variables that can go into why someone may be fucked up in the head.
But I think that you also have to put into context the severity of the crimes, because it's almost like the child that's a teenager that's killed 5 people. Now that child, some of them go right to the adult system because of the heinous action of the crime.
Right.
You're not rehabilitated. You put that thing down like a fucking you would to the dog. You put that thing, and I'm even calling you being down like a dog. I'm sorry. I don't want my taxpayer money wasted on something that's inherently bad. That's evil. You don't rehabilitate something that's evil like that. Okay?
Evil doesn't want to be
Right, exactly. We're not talking about mental health issues, because that's a different story. Okay? When you have somebody that is inherently just a bad person, is a piece of shit, and that's what they do, you put them down like you would put a dog down that bites people. Yep. Okay? That's how you do it. And the problem is, again, I want to stay on topic, but the problem is how society is today. We are so PC
They want to give and they want to give the criminals second chances.
PC everything that they have redefined and blurred the lines of what's lawful and what's not. Yeah. I mean, we've done episodes before. Look at the major cities. Look at New York City. They're running amok. Look at the bail reform. Look at the laws. These guys are committing crimes and
that's what made me think of this. Yeah.
And going committing crimes again to get let out again. And these are career criminals with some pretty significant histories. So that poor gentleman, I'll give the nod. All right, maybe they should have. If he showed 30 years of progress, all right, we're not going to put you to death, but you're going to live here the rest of your life. All right, I'm okay with that. But if you're talking about someone that has repeatedly raped, pillaged, and plundered, okay, and has committed heinous crimes, you put them down.
What's like those 2 boys, well, those group of kids, that 13-year-olds that murdered the 18-year-old girl in New York?
Right.
Right? So here are 13-year-old boys, right? One guy was supposedly held there while she tried to get away. The other one was slashing at her. These kids are 13 years old.
Wow.
13-year-old kids, and they murdered an 18-year-old girl. What kind of conversation do you have with this 13-year-old kid? Do you really look at this kid and say, "Hey, we can reform him"? What's the?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it also, what is going on with this kid that he's running around at 13 years old?
Well, there's probably no parent influence. He's come from lower income. There's a whole bunch of variables that follow the typical profile of what these guys are. Yeah. So I mean, most of them are,
Well, it's a breakdown of society again as a whole, because at the end of the day, listen, I am very compassionate as to people from single parent homes or no parents, or they come from a foster system.
Right.
But when does it end? When do you stop?
When does the compassion stop?
When is the accountability? When are you held accountable?
But to your point before, everyone gets a second chance. You know, I was talking to all of our mutual friends before about something that has nothing to do with this topic, and I said, you know, everyone deserves a second chance, especially when they say, oh, they make good on the mistake. But you're not talking about that. You're talking about habitual criminals. Yeah. And the thing is that the other caveat to that is, remember, I think we spoke about this, we touched on it too. The prison system is a for-profit organization.
Yeah,
exactly.
They want people in prison. You got to remember, people that are sentenced to prison in this state get sent to Oklahoma, they get sent to LA, they get sent all over the place, depending on the facility where they can make the most money, and it benefits them the most. So there's no reformation. This is the prison system. If you watch, there's this guy on Instagram, and he goes under Watson Fit, but he's on YouTube, and I forgot his first name, but it's Watson. He was in prison for 10 years, and he brought himself back, and he's this great motivator. He's got a ton of tattoos, and he's straightened him out, and he embraced the miserable effects of prison to make himself, I think it's Chad Watson.
Can I ask you why he went to prison?
He went for drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Drugs.
Drug dealer
Drug
or
dealer.
user?
Drug dealer. But how he took the prison environment to harden him, but looked at it as say that the fact that he's alive and that he can breathe, that he can work out every day, that he used all that to give himself this disciplined lifestyle to get himself through prison, to apply it once he got out. And again, I'm doing him a disservice, but he's awesome. I watch him a lot on YouTube, and he goes under Watson Fit on Instagram. But here's a guy who mentally said, I'm not going to do drugs, I'm not going to get involved with bullshit, I'm going to do what I need to do in prison to survive and be a leader, I'm going to be an example to the guys that come into prison and say, here's how you're going to survive, here's how you're going to do it, so you can get out and make something of your fucking self and not get caught up in this bullshit. You know, and it goes back to that, like, I think the moral of the story is that if you don't have it here and here to fix it, I don't give a fuck who's in front of you to reform you.
It's not
okay, it's not going to happen because it has to click. And then the other side of that is, and then you guys weigh in, is like I've been hammering, they're career criminals. Okay, I use a sociopath. Sociopath can go kill the three of us and go have a sandwich downstairs at Froggy's. They don't. It's like they did nothing.
Sorry, Froggy's.
Yeah, I know. But my point, but you know what I'm saying. Like
criminals love
but like
Froggy's.
a
It's that delicious.
It is that good.
But
Getting out of jail, you know where to eat.
yeah, exactly. But sociopaths,
Just go to Froggy's.
You're gonna die. What's your last meal?
right or wrong, sociopaths don't process that. They kill
Right.
just because they need to kill.
Correct.
All right, and they like I said, they can go to the movies, have dinner, and like they didn't kill 4 people.
Yeah.
So that's my point. Like that's what.
And the
that's
nice
what
thing
we're talking
nowadays, too, with DNA testing and everything else, we're not making the mistakes we used to make.
Correct.
So the people that we're actually punishing are usually the ones that need to be punished because the mistakes aren't there anymore. So that's a good thing.
So I mean, what would you say to someone who's like, all right, fine, Paul, I kind of see what you guys are talking about, career criminal, but I got to tell you, the only career this kid was shown was to be a criminal. I mean, mom who's a crackhead.
You know what I say to that? I say tough fucking luck. How's that? I'm not that
I'm just playing
sympathetic.
devil's advocate.
No, I'm fine with that, but I'm not that sympathetic.
Because my point is, with someone because somebody else can sit there and argue, well, like, look, he was trained in this behavior. How come we can't argue that he could be trained?
Unless he's a mercenary, he's not trained to rape people and to freaking kill people.
Listen, you're a product of your environment. I understand what he's saying.
No, I get that. But it only goes so far with me.
I agree.
I'm done.
How would
Yeah.
those 13-year-olds know to kill that woman and the 18-year-old?
Well, then my argument is,
saying.
like,
It's
when
part
someone
of the
comes to
environment.
somebody who comes to me and goes, product of your environment. Fine, product of my environment. These 13-year-old boys went out and did X, Y, Z. Fine. The boy across the street has the same predicament as them, lives in the same style household, same situation, grows up to be a doctor or a football player or
just a regular person who
functioning
does
human being in the United States society. What happened?
You can't give them that out because then everybody starts using that out.
I think that they rise above it, to be honest with you, and either a mentor or a teacher or a coach or something or somebody showed them a different way.
Yeah.
I think that we're talking about, just to be, let's kind of make it extreme, like to what Chris's point is, we're talking about the hardened, extreme, sociopath, criminal, whatever.
What percentage of people that get arrested would you argue, or what percentage of this society would you argue really have that kind of hard-nosed, like, I'm a fucking everything's gonna die, I'm a killer, coal in the like.
There's gangsters out there. I mean, there's still.
Well, there's a lot of soft gangsters out there too.
Yeah, well,
I'm not discrediting your point. I guess I'm just like, we have such a vast system in regards to.
Well, I think the system's based on pandering, like Chris said. It's pandering for fucking scumbags. So the bottom line is, where do you draw the line? Like, you got to remember, there was a time where people, and again, it goes back to society, where you're like, all right, you walk the line. If you veered off it, you're going to get in trouble. Or if you veered off, you're going to get in big trouble. There isn't, now it's basically, you can do the most obscene things, and they go like this.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Are you nuts? Like, it just popped in my head a second ago. So they take a child, and the child is raped and murdered, okay? And they don't give that criminal the death penalty. So now the father or the mother waits in the courthouse or waits in the street or pays somebody to take that guy out because the system failed them. So now what? I applaud that parent, okay? And if the judge has any common sense, they dismiss it as a crime of passion because their child was brutally murdered and raped, and the system failed it. So how do you, as a defense attorney, as a judge, as a jury, as a population, look at a fucking animal that does that to a child or an old lady or whatever and think they're entitled to this spectacular amount of due process? And even more so, they're entitled to...
Smack on the wrist. Let me see that.
You do the other one. I just want it to be you.
But my point is, you know what I'm saying? Like, no. I revert back to what I said before. You put that dog down. Especially if there's a history. There's not a...
How many times can you give somebody life imprisonment? Oh, so they just keep on killing, they just keep on killing, they get into prison, they keep on killing. Oh, so now you got 17 life imprisonments.
Well, what, a life sentence is what, 66, 99 years? How many years is a life sentence?
Doesn't even matter.
You get 3 life sentences.
So what? Yeah, exactly. So what the hell does that mean? Maybe if you could put like his kin in jail for him to finish it up, I would be like, all right with it. But if you can't, then you got to kill him.
Listen, North
Otherwise,
Korea.
there's what?
Listen, North Korea.
Well, the other,
I'm just kidding.
the catch-22 to that, or the, is the catch-22 maybe? But caveat is that, so now this person gets sent to prison, okay, for being a child molester or a rapist, and now prison justice, this guy gets taken out.
Yeah, that's good.
By another prisoner.
Right.
So, like, I have more respect for that prisoner because of prison justice, and says, we don't tolerate that shit, okay? Because you gotta remember, when you go to prison, they have a thing where it's called, and I watch a lot of this on YouTube, where it's called, they check your paperwork. So if you get processes for something, for a crime, they want to see your paperwork, and you're supposed to keep your arrest sheet with you so that the head guy who runs the yard sees it. So they make sure who you are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you have any of these certain crimes, you're either going to be excommunicated, you're going to get killed, you're going to get beat up. Like it's a very militant system in jail. Believe it or not, it's very militant.
Funny.
And the fact of the matter is that if you come into prison with one of those things, and you, for whatever reason, they find out your paperwork,
and you did
contains any of those things, you're going to die.
You're in trouble.
I mean, so like, and
I don't have a problem with that.
I applaud those inmates for doing that. I'm sorry. Call me whatever you want, but I applaud them.
I'm with you.
Because if you couldn't do it on the outside, at least they're doing something good on the inside.
So do you believe in the old adage that like the what is it, Hammurabi Code? Where
Hammurabi's Code of Law, yeah.
Eye for an eye? Yep. But then there's also someone who sits there and says, well, that code of law, eye for an eye leaves the world blind. Like, do you feel that holds
liberals,
water,
man?
Or?
And again, it's the pecking order. You know, it's the pecking order. It's the what about me? It's the weak. Again, it's the weak people. It's the weak ones that have no fortitude, no morality, and no discipline. Think about it. Life's discipline. If you're not disciplined enough to say no to certain things, then you got problems.
And you're not going to be successful.
You're not. And it's just, listen, it's no different than if you say, I'm not going to eat a Snickers bar anymore once a day because I want to lose weight.
Or like I'm going to have like a grilled chicken salad for dinner because I'm trying to stay in shape.
Well, that doesn't happen. But my point is that, again, it's discipline. Am I going to go out and rob cars? Am I going to rob, am I going to go out and rob cars anymore? Am I going to go out and, hit old ladies on the street corner and rob for their purses? Okay. There's a matter of discipline and morality there. So it's, again, I think the whole thing, to put it in a nutshell, is that there's all these, like Frank was saying, there's all these moving parts to it. But I think that because of the lack of discipline and because of the, slap on the wrist type of mentality and everything now, they run amok. They run amok. It's and that's why you like, for me, I know for four of us, we live like that. We live life like this.
Because you never know. Exactly. It's horrible.
Because you don't trust anybody.
Correct.
You don't put yourself in a position of becoming a victim. So ultimately, guess what? The death penalty would stop a lot of that victim bullshit.
Yeah, well, and that's why I like to be self-sufficient too, because then I was sitting telling there Madison last night, my girlfriend, that the reason why I'm so anal about doing everything myself is because if something goes wrong, I know I can sit there and look in the mirror and say, you fucked it up. Whereas if somebody else does something and makes a mistake, now I can sit there and feel like I have that victim mentality, and I hate it. I hate putting that control in other people's hands when it's my destiny.
Yeah. It's all about the discipline.
Rudolph, you want to wrap it up?
Basically, we are pro the death penalty. We think some things need to change. Once they change, I think it'll be a more efficient system, and I hope that it will become the ultimate deterrent for crime, and that's that.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Guys, for the Matt Chat podcast, I'm Frank Ciotto. That's Paul Ciotto. This is BOD. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We appreciate all your support. Like, share, subscribe for another episode of Matt Chat podcast. We'll see you next time.